Hello friends, welcome to the advanced Node.js segment on my channel. Under this segment today we are going to discuss about the thread pool creation in Node.js through Workerpool. So the first question is, what is thread pool? Thread pool is nothing but a collection or pool of few worker threads that remains active and ready to handle any task till the application is live. To know more about the worker threads, please go through my previous videos where I have discussed about the worker threads in detail. I will provide the link of that video in my description. We can create this thread pool by ourselves by using the worker threads. Along with this, there is a well-known npm package that is called as Workerpool. This Workerpool is very helpful in creating the thread pool in Node.js, and this doesn't only provide the thread pool in Node.js only, it provides the thread pool in almost all JavaScript related frameworks. So now the question is how this thread pool is different from the libuv thread pool, because in Node.js libuv also provide us thread pool that has some worker threads. So how the thread pool created from Workerpool is different from the libuv thread pool, or this Workerpool is using the same thread pool as the libuv? So to answer this question, the Workerpool creates and manages its own pool of worker thread. It doesn't use the libuv thread pool. It's completely different from the libuv thread pool. So Workerpool creates its own threads, its own set of worker threads, and those set of worker threads are managed in a different worker pool. So each worker threads here runs in a separate instance of the V8 engine and executes the JavaScript code independently of the main thread and other worker threads from the libuv. So let's understand this through the coding. So here I have already created one very small application to showcase this Workerpool. So before doing anything, we will have to install this Workerpool package. So let's have some idea about this Workerpool package. So if you will search this Workerpool, then you will come here, and if we see, this Workerpool is very famous because weekly download is around 67 lakh, and here the people are very active because last published version is 14 days ago, and so we can easily use it, and it's very much famous. And issues, existing issues are also very less. Unpack size is a bit more, but yeah, it can be used. So how we can use it, let's see. So first I have installed this Workerpool, and then I have installed Express to create one very small Express application. And here then I created one app.js file. In app.js file, first I imported this Express, and then second I imported this Workerpool. Okay, and then in this Workerpool I have created one config file. In this config file I have given some required config that are necessary in creating the Workerpool. So these config files, this is the config file. Here I have added few configs. These are like first is the mean workers. So in your thread pool that is going to be created by the Workerpool, so this thread pool will have this minimum number of the worker threads. At least this minimum number of the worker threads will always be active. And what is the maximum number of the worker threads? So this will be the maximum number of the worker threads. So you can create up to this limit of the worker threads. Generally we can increase or decrease it, but it all depends about how many CPUs you are having. If you are creating number of the threads more than your CPU, then it will be created, but it will not be that much useful. Maximum queue size, so this field is basically defining that suppose if your all the worker threads are occupied and all the worker threads are occupied in doing some task, and if new request or new task is coming, then how many these new tasks can come. So here we are specifying that 2 new tasks can come, and it can keep waiting in the queue. If more than 2 tasks is coming, then this thread pool will trigger some error messages. Now worker type, So here worker type, basically, as I have mentioned, that this worker pool, this package is basically used in almost all JavaScript frameworks. So if you are using it in Node.js, then in Node.js, basically thread pool is created by using the worker threads. So here worker type will be thread, and if you are using it in web, then it may be like you can use it like auto. So there it will decide based on where it is running. Based on that, it will decide the worker type automatically. And terminate timeout, worker terminate timeout. So suppose if you are forcibly closing your thread pool, then each thread will take at least this amount of time to perform its closing work or to release some resources. So these are the minimum configurations that we need to provide. There are several other configurations also available that you can find in this documentation. So here all these configurations are here. You can go through it and you can provide this configuration whatever is needed in your application. And these configuration file I have imported here. Okay, and now I'm simply creating worker config. So this is imported here, and now I am creating one worker pool. So this is the way of creating the pool of worker threads. So this is basically the pool of worker threads, and the syntax for this is worker pool dot pool. And here we are passing the path of file worker.js. So this file we have created, you can give it any name, and here we are passing the worker pool config. This is the worker pool config that is coming from the JSON file. We are passing it here. So this is basically the syntax you can syntax that is of creating the worker pool. Now let's go through this worker.js. So what is the role of this worker.js? So in worker.js, basically we define that what all task this worker what all task this pool can perform. So here basically we define some task and we expose those tasks, and those tasks then while triggering those tasks can be handled by some threads in this worker pool. Now let's go through this worker.js. So this is the worker.js. Here I have created two tasks. One is the Fibonacci and another is the factorial, and here just it's simple syntax, and then I am exposing this to from workerpool.worker. So it is just exposing this function so that it can be used anywhere in your application wherever you are having the access of the worker pool. So here this variable is used. Now through this variable we can execute these functions. So what is the syntax for this? Syntax is pool.exec. So this is the basically syntax, and here we are passing the task that we need to execute. So this task should be same as defined here. So if you see here, it is same, and it requires some parameters, arguments. So if we go here, we are passing one argument here, that is the num. This num is coming through request. Okay, and this exec is basically asynchronous in nature. It is basically return the promises, so that's why we have used the await keyword. And that's how we have created one for Fibonacci. We have created this get route, and for factorial we have created this. Okay, and along with whenever we are creating the thread pool, we should create one function that will help in gracefully closing or terminating these thread pools or threads in this thread pool. So for that I have I have created this function. In this function I am calling pool.terminate, and I am passing true. True means it's forced shutdown or forced termination of these threads. And then here I am releasing some resources, and where this function is being called. So these functions are being called in these situations. For example, if any error related with sig term is happening, or second this kind of error is happening, then in this case your application will be automatically stopped, and before stopping your application, this thread pool will be gracefully terminated. And here I am starting my server. So now let's start this server. So server is started, and it is running on the port 3000. Now let's run it. So here for Fibonacci, if I'm running it, so it is giving me the results. Similarly here also, this is also giving me the results. So this is giving me the results. So now if we are increasing some complexity here, so here now one thread got occupied here because it is taking more time. Now let's run it more. So for how it is working, from thread pool it is taking one thread, and that thread is running over here. This thread is not yet completed, it is still running. Now I'm going to occupy the another threads. So the second thread is running. Now I'm going to occupy another thread. This thread is also running. Till here I'm going to see whether this function is running or not. Yes, this function is running because this function is not taking much time, so the thread is getting released from here very quickly. Now let's run this again, and let's run few more. So I think almost all threads are occupied, and now if I'm running this factorial, so there is no more threads available in our thread pool to handle this. So this task is also in the waiting situation, and once one of these thread will be available, then this factorial part will be processed. So that's how the thread pool basically works. So this is all for today, and if you have any question or any query, then you can post in the comment section. Thanks for watching.